Please don't send me away. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I destroyed everything for you, but you're the only family I have left.
Family? You remembered we're family now? Tell me, where was that family when you disappeared with everything I spent years working for?
Where was your love for me when you walked away without saying goodbye and left me with nothing but pain? If I could go back, I would change everything. I would never make the choice that destroyed our lives. I thought I was chasing a better future, but I ended up losing everything that truly mattered.
Then answer the question. After all these years, why did you finally come back? Why are you kneeling in front of me now, begging after everything I've been through because of you?
Because I have nothing left. There's something you need to know, Amara. Something I should have told you a long time ago.
Amara and Kemi were two sisters who lost everything before they even had a chance to build a life of their own. Within the same year, they buried both of their parents. Their father died after a long illness, and only a few months later, their mother also passed away, leaving the sisters completely alone in the world. The small house they had called home belonged to a distant relative, and after the funeral, they were told they could no longer stay there. With only a few clothes packed into old bags, the sisters quietly walked away, holding back their tears. They had no home, no money, and no one else to depend on except each other. Amara was 22 years old, and even after losing both parents, she refused to let life break her spirit. She believed that honest work and patience would one day give them a better future. Her younger sister, Kemi, was 19 years old. She was beautiful, cheerful, and full of dreams, but unlike Amara, she hated being poor. Every time she saw people wearing expensive clothes or driving luxury cars, she wished she could live that kind of life. Even though the sisters loved each other deeply, they slowly began to see life in very different ways. One believed in hard work, while the other wished for a faster way out of poverty. For several weeks, they searched everywhere for work, hoping someone would give them a chance. Many employers turned them away without even listening to their story. Just when they were beginning to lose hope, the local government offered them jobs as street sweepers. The pay was small, but it was enough to rent a tiny room with a leaking roof and buy simple meals. Every morning before the sun came up, they wrapped old scarves around their heads, picked up their brooms, and walked through empty streets, sweeping roads while the rest of the city was still asleep. It was difficult work, but Amara never complained because she believed every honest step brought them closer to a better tomorrow. Life as street sweepers was never easy. Some people appreciated the work they did, but many others looked down on them. Drivers sometimes splashed dirty water on them without stopping, while others laughed as they walked by with their expensive clothes and shining cars. Amara ignored the insults and stayed focused on her work, but Kemi found it harder to pretend the words did not hurt. Every smile from strangers felt fake, and every laugh sounded like another reminder that she was trapped in a life she never wanted. She began wondering if life would ever change for them or if they would spend the rest of their lives sweeping streets while everyone else moved forward. One afternoon, while they were cleaning a busy road, a group of fashionable young women walked past them. One of them suddenly stopped and stared at Kemi before smiling in recognition. She had been one of Kemi's classmates back in secondary school. Looking at the broom in Kemi's hands, she laughed and asked if she was really still sweeping roads for a living. Kemi forced herself to smile and quietly replied that at least she had a job. The young woman laughed even louder before walking away with her friends. Amara gently placed a comforting hand on her sister's shoulder and told her not to worry about people who looked down on honest work. Kemi nodded, but inside, her heart was breaking. That evening, after they returned home, Amara reached under their bed and carefully pulled out a small metal box. Inside were neat bundles of money she had been saving from every salary. She smiled as she looked at the growing savings and turned to Kemi with excitement. She explained that if they kept saving little by little, they would eventually have enough money to open a small tailoring shop together. She dreamed of learning how to sew beautiful clothes, while Kemi would help welcome customers and manage the business. To Amara, the little metal box was more than money. It was hope, a promise that their difficult days would not last forever. Kemi smiled at her sister, but after the box was locked again, she quietly stared at it much longer than Amara noticed. The sisters continued their daily routine, working under the hot sun and sometimes even through heavy rain. There were days when they skipped dinner just so they could save a little more money. On happier evenings, they bought roasted corn from a roadside seller, shared stories about their parents, and laughed together inside their tiny room. Those simple moments reminded them that although life had taken everything else away, they still had each other. Amara believed that as long as they stayed united, nothing could stop them from reaching their dream. Everything began to change one ordinary afternoon when someone called Kemi's name while she was sweeping near a shopping district. She turned around and saw Sandra, an old classmate she had not seen in years. Sandra looked nothing like the girl Kemi remembered from school. She stepped out of a beautiful luxury car, wearing expensive jewelry, stylish clothes, and shoes that probably cost more than several months of Kemi's salary. Kemi suddenly became embarrassed by her faded work uniform and the broom she was holding. Sandra warmly hugged her and said she never expected to find her working on the streets. The following day, Sandra returned with cold drinks for both sisters. She smiled kindly, but there was something about her confidence that made Amara uncomfortable. While they talked, Sandra looked at Kemi and casually said there were much easier ways to make money than spending every day sweeping roads. Amara quickly replied that easy money often came with painful consequences, but Sandra simply laughed and said that wasn't always true. Before leaving, she quietly slipped a small piece of paper into Kemi's hand and whispered that she should call whenever she grew tired of struggling. Kemi secretly kept the paper and never mentioned it to Amara. A few days later, curiosity got the better of her. Without telling her sister, Kemi called Sandra, and they met at a beautiful restaurant unlike anything she had ever seen before. The tables, the food, and even the people around them looked rich. Sandra ordered expensive meals without even checking the prices, leaving Kemi amazed. Unable to hide her curiosity any longer, Kemi finally asked how Sandra could afford such a luxurious life. Sandra smiled confidently and explained that she had stopped allowing poverty to control her future. When Kemi asked what kind of work she did, Sandra quietly admitted that wealthy men paid her to spend time with them. Kemi was shocked and immediately said she could never choose that kind of life, but Sandra only smiled and pointed toward the luxury cars outside the restaurant. She asked Kemi if she truly believed people became rich by sweeping roads. Those words followed Kemi all the way home. From that day forward, Kemi's thoughts began to change. Every morning she still swept the streets beside Amara, but every evening she found herself remembering Sandra's expensive clothes, beautiful lifestyle, and endless confidence. Before long, she started leaving the house more often, always telling Amara she was visiting a friend or doing a small side job. Soon expensive perfume appeared in their room, followed by new shoes and a beautiful handbag. Amara noticed the changes and gently asked where all those things had come from. Kemi simply smiled and replied that her side job paid much better than street sweeping. When Amara asked what kind of work it was, Kemi quickly changed the subject. Because she trusted her sister completely, Amara chose not to ask any more questions. Unknown to Amara, Kemi had already started living two different lives. During the day she worked honestly beside her sister, pretending nothing had changed. At night, she followed Sandra into a dangerous world filled with parties, wealthy strangers, and fast money. Every time she accepted money, she promised herself it would be the last time, but the promises became easier to break. Slowly, the simple life she once accepted no longer felt good enough. The dreams she had shared with Amara began to disappear behind the temptation of quick wealth and a glamorous lifestyle. One evening, Amara happily opened the small metal box once again and smiled proudly at how much their savings had grown. She looked at Kemi and excitedly said they were getting closer to opening the tailoring shop they had always dreamed about. Kemi quietly asked how much money was inside now, and Amara laughed, saying she had stopped counting every day because she was simply happy watching their future come together. After carefully locking the box, Amara placed the key inside her handbag, never realizing that Kemi had been watching exactly where she hid it. That night, while Amara slept peacefully, Kemi remained awake. She lay on her bed staring at the handbag hanging on the wall as two different voices fought inside her heart. One reminded her of Sandra's words about escaping poverty forever, while the other reminded her that Amara had always trusted and protected her. She turned from one side of the bed to the other, unable to sleep as guilt battled temptation. Early the next morning, Amara left the room to buy breakfast before work, leaving Kemi alone. She stood silently in the middle of the room, her eyes fixed on the handbag. Outside, gentle rain began falling on the old roof. Inside, Kemi slowly took one step forward, then another. Her trembling hand reached toward the handbag, and just as her fingers were about to touch it, a loud knock suddenly echoed through the room.
If you're really enjoying this video so far, consider subscribing to my small channel. My boyfriend promised to take me out if I hit 1,000 subscribers, and that would mean the whole world to me. Thanks for listening this far.
The sudden knock on the door startled Kemi, making her quickly pull her hand away from Amara's handbag. When she opened the door, she found an elderly neighbor standing outside with a warm smile and a small loaf of homemade bread. The old woman said she had baked extra that morning and wanted the sisters to have some. Kemi thanked her politely, closed the door, and looked back at the handbag. For a brief moment, guilt filled her heart again. She whispered to herself that she could not betray the only family she had left. She stepped away from the bag, believing she had defeated the temptation. But although she walked away that morning, the dangerous thought remained alive inside her heart. As the days passed, Sandra became more determined to change Kemi's way of thinking. She constantly reminded her that she was wasting her youth sweeping streets for a salary that could barely feed two people. Sandra insisted that Amara's dreams were too small and that saving little by little would never give them the life they deserved. At first, Kemi defended her sister, but after hearing the same words over and over again, she slowly began to believe them. Without realizing it, she started seeing Amara, not as the sister who had sacrificed everything for her, but as the person keeping her tied to a life of poverty she desperately wanted to escape. While Kemi's heart was slowly changing, Amara remained exactly the same. Every payday, she carefully added another part of her salary to the metal box beneath their bed. On weekends, she spent hours drawing simple clothing designs on old pieces of paper, dreaming about the tailoring shop they would one day own together. One evening, she smiled at Kemi and happily said that when their business finally opened, Kemi would welcome customers because she always knew how to make people feel comfortable. Hearing those words filled Kemi with shame. She wanted to smile back, but deep inside, she knew she was hiding a painful secret from the one person who trusted her more than anyone else. Not long afterward, Sandra called Kemi with what she described as a final opportunity. She explained that a wealthy businessman was taking her abroad and that she would soon leave the city forever. She encouraged Kemi to come with her, promising a life without suffering or hard labor. Kemi refused because she could not imagine abandoning her sister completely. Sandra did not argue. Instead, she quietly reminded Kemi that she already knew where the savings were hidden. She never directly told Kemi to steal the money, but she did not have to. The idea had already taken root, and every passing day made it harder for Kemi to ignore the temptation growing inside her. Just a few days later, Amara returned home with wonderful news that filled her with excitement. She had found the owner of a small tailoring workshop who had agreed to train her every weekend for free. She rushed into their room, hugged Kemi tightly, and said that this was the beginning of the future they had always prayed for. She believed God had finally opened a door for them, and all they needed now was patience. That evening, they shared a simple meal, laughed together, and talked about the beautiful tailoring shop they hoped to own one day. Neither of them realized it would be the last peaceful night they would ever spend together as sisters. The following morning, Amara left early for work, trusting Kemi as her sister. She never imagined she needed to protect her savings from her own sister. As soon as the room became quiet, Kemi slowly opened Amara's handbag and removed the small key. Her hands shook so badly that she could barely hold it. Standing before the metal box, she burst into tears. She whispered over and over that she would return every naira after becoming successful. She truly wanted to believe it. When she finally unlocked the box, she stared at the money inside and realized it represented years of hunger, sacrifice, long walks under the burning sun, and every dream Amara had refused to give up on. For several minutes, Kemi stood there crying, unable to move. She almost closed the box and returned the key. Then her phone vibrated. It was a short message from Sandra saying that the taxi was already waiting outside. That single message pushed Kemi past the point of no return. With trembling hands, she packed every bundle of money into her bag. Before leaving, she looked around the tiny room one last time. She saw the old family photograph hanging on the wall, the 2 cups they used every evening, and the broom they carried to work together every morning. Without writing a note or saying goodbye, Kemi quietly walked out of the room, leaving behind the only person who had truly loved her. Hours later, Amara returned home from work happier than she had been in months. All day she had imagined learning how to sew beautiful clothes. She called out for Kemi, expecting to hear her cheerful voice, but the room was completely silent. Thinking her sister had gone to the market, Amara smiled and reached under the bed to check the savings she loved so much. The moment she picked up the metal box, her heart sank because it felt strangely light. She slowly opened it and found nothing inside. Every bundle of money was gone. Panic filled her heart as she searched every corner of the room before opening her handbag and realizing the key had disappeared as well. Then she noticed that Kemi's clothes were gone. In that heartbreaking moment, the painful truth became impossible to deny. Amara collapsed onto the floor with the empty metal box pressed tightly against her chest. Her cries filled the small room as neighbors rushed inside after hearing her scream. Some tried to comfort her, while others stood silently, unable to believe that one sister could do such a thing to another. For hours, Amara refused to accept what had happened. She kept repeating that Kemi would never betray her and that there had to be another explanation. But as the day slowly passed, hope faded into painful reality. The sister she had trusted more than anyone else had disappeared with every dream they had spent years building together. For weeks, Amara searched everywhere she could think of. She visited bus stations, hospitals, hotels, and every place where someone claimed to have seen Sandra. She asked strangers, neighbors, and old classmates if anyone knew where Kemi had gone. Every search ended the same way, with disappointment and silence. Eventually, people stopped encouraging her and gently told her she had to move on. But moving on felt impossible. She had already buried both parents, and now the only family she had left had vanished, taking not only her savings but also the trust she once had in the people she loved most. Even though her heart was broken, Amara refused to let pain destroy the rest of her life. Every morning she still picked up her broom and continued sweeping the streets because she had no other choice. Many nights she cried herself to sleep without eating, wondering if she had somehow failed her sister. There were moments when she questioned everything she believed in, but one Saturday she remembered the tailoring workshop. She almost stayed home because the sadness felt too heavy, but something inside her reminded her that if she gave up now, then Kemi would have stolen far more than money. She would have stolen her future as well. Wiping away her tears, Amara walked into the workshop and began learning to sew with all the determination she had left. Years passed, and every sacrifice slowly began to bear fruit. Amara continued sweeping streets during the day while learning tailoring whenever she had free time. She slept very little, worked harder than ever, and refused to quit no matter how exhausted she became. Her skills improved until she became one of the best students in the workshop. Eventually, she opened the small tailoring shop she had once dreamed about. That small shop grew into a successful business, and before long, she owned several shops and employed many workers. The woman people once ignored while sweeping dirty roads had become a respected business owner. Yet despite all her success, one thing never changed. Every morning, she looked at an old family photograph hanging in her office and quietly prayed that wherever Kemi was, she was still alive. One rainy afternoon, Amara's assistant entered her office looking nervous. She explained that a woman outside wanted to see her but did not have an appointment. When Amara asked for the visitor's name, the assistant hesitated before quietly saying, "She says her name is Kemi." The pen slipped from Amara's hand. She slowly walked outside, unsure of what she was about to see. Standing near the entrance was a woman she could barely recognize. The beautiful young sister she once knew had disappeared. Her face was thin, her clothes were old, and her body trembled with weakness. She covered her mouth as she coughed into a handkerchief stained with blood. The fast life she had chosen had taken everything from her. The moment their eyes met, Kemi fell to her knees in tears. She admitted that she had been selfish and believed money would make her happy, but instead it destroyed every part of her life. She explained that Sandra had introduced her to wealthy men who used people and abandoned them when they were no longer useful. After becoming seriously ill, every person she thought was a friend disappeared. Sandra herself eventually died after years of addiction and loneliness. The money Kemi had stolen was gone long ago, wasted on temporary pleasures that brought lasting pain. Doctors had recently told her she was suffering from a life-threatening disease, and with nowhere else to turn, she had come back to the only person who had ever loved her without conditions. Amara stood in silence as years of pain rushed back into her heart. She remembered the empty metal box, the sleepless nights, the tears, and the dreams that had been shattered in a single day. For a long moment, neither sister spoke. Then Amara slowly walked forward, lifted Kemi from the ground, and embraced her tightly. Through tears, she admitted that the betrayal had broken her heart and changed her life forever. But she also said that holding on to hatred would only allow the betrayal to keep hurting her. Instead of turning Kemi away, she brought her home, paid for her treatment, stayed beside her hospital bed, and cared for her with the same love she had shown before everything fell apart. Although the doctors did everything they could, Kemi's condition continued to grow worse. During her final days, she often cried and confessed that if she had the chance to live again, she would choose her sister over money every single time. Not long afterward, she peacefully passed away while Amara held her hand. She left this world knowing she had been forgiven, even though she could never undo the pain she had caused. From that day on, whenever people asked Amara how she became successful, she never started by talking about her business. Instead, she spoke about honesty, patience, forgiveness, and the danger of chasing fast money. She had learned that wealth could rebuild a house, but only love could heal a broken heart.
If you truly enjoyed this story, don't just watch and go. Subscribe to this channel and be part of this journey. We drop 2-3 African stories every week. Stories that teach, shock, and open your eyes. Help us grow this channel by liking and share it to someone who needs to hear this story. Stay connected. More powerful stories are coming every week.